Good morning, friends. I too want to welcome you. It was such a blissful evening last night, those of you that could attend the concert. And I realized we had a Holy Trinity because last weekend we had a Kriya initiation, and then we had World Brotherhood Day, and then last night we had the concert. And really, they're all an expression. It sort of just dawned on me last night in the concert that they're the perfect epitome of this topic today, living in the presence of God. Because we can't live in the presence of God until we know God, until we experience God. That's what Kriya Yoga and meditation are all about. That's what our community is all about, loving God inwardly. But that's not enough. Then we have, like Swamiji, we're a piece of the same cloth, you could say. We have that desire to share with others. And that's World Brotherhood Day. The first gift of the holiday season is giving, is sharing. That's the hallmark of Ananda. But it didn't dawn on me until last night at the concert that it's like the two of those combined. It's like the harmony, the joy, the love that's expressed through song. We talk about that, the song of spirit, the Bhagavad Gita. That's what that concert was last night. It was this joyous singing of love for God and sharing that love with others. So I think we're done. Okay, all right. I have another problem. Whispers from eternity. There are too many good whispers. But since we were on the topic of the Holy Trinity, I chose the demand to the Holy Trinity. O Heavenly Trinity, Om Tat Sat, God the transcendental Father, God the immanent Christ consciousness, and God the holy creative vibratory force of all creation. Grant me the wisdom to know thy truth through my self-effort and my knowing acceptance of the law. Help me up the golden ladder of realization to stand at last on the shining summit of attainment, face to face with the one Spirit, perfect, everlasting bliss. I wanted to start, again, the concert was deeply inspiring for me last night, and I heard some of the lyrics to the songs, of course, but one really struck me last night. I believe it's the Christ Child's Asleep, and there's one verse that I wanted to read so we could use that as a starting point for living in the presence of God. The freedom we would know, Christ offered long ago, and even from his slumber flows peace. All creatures here on earth, alive to their own worth, can welcome love and win their release. Isn't that beautiful? It was that last line that really struck me last night during the concert. Can welcome love and win their release. And that's what I'd like to share this morning, is living in the presence of God. How can we welcome love and win our freedom, win our release in God? Well, first, what do we mean when we talk about practicing the presence of God, practicing the presence of Christ consciousness? You know, there's a beautiful book, our own Nayaswami Lakshman, I don't know that he's here, but maybe a few years ago he gave it as a gift to a number of us. I'm very grateful to Lakshman for that. Practicing His Presence by Brother Lawrence. Probably many of you know that book. It's so inspiring. And Brother Lawrence, he was a very simple man in the 1600s, French. He was actually a soldier, and then he was injured. And when he was 18, it was probably a winter day. Well, this is like a spring day, but a winter day that was cold. And he saw a barren tree. It was stripped of its leaves. And he was, talk about practicing the presence of God. He felt God's presence so deeply through this winter tree. And he felt the divine providence that would empower, that would then return the leaves in the spring. And this cycle of life, that it overwhelmed him. And that was his spiritual conversion. That's when he became a brother, a true child of God. But Brother Lawrence, he talked about practicing the presence of God very simply, and he so sweetly, he would say, Lord, this is how I am. I can't change unless you come in. And he said, I don't know whether I'll be saved or not, and I really don't care. I have this one good thing, that I will go on to the end of my life loving God. It was very simple. And he would practice, he would turn his thoughts, he would turn his feelings, he would ask how he could please God in the everyday life, in the simple things. And it was in that way that he became a saint. How often are we meditating? Oh, yeah, we do have the long meditation coming up. And we encourage you to do that. And that is one of the best ways, as Yogananda said, to practice the presence of God. We have to feel him within us. But this reading today is also about how do we spiritualize our daily lives. I was torn because I wanted to read the prayer, the whispers on before taking food. And Dharma Devi said, I don't know if you want to do that. We were joking about it. But it's so powerful. Heavenly Father, receive this food. Make it holy. Let no impurity of greed ever defile it. The food comes from thee. It is to build thy temple. Spiritualize it. Spirit to spirit goes. We are the petals of thy manifestation, but thou art the flower. Its life, beauty, and loveliness. Permeate our souls with the fragrance of thy presence. That's the prayer demand before food. Well, we could use that prayer before anything. Spiritualize this conversation. Make it holy. Spiritualize my work. Make it holy. Receive these thoughts. Make them holy. And I love that. He says, spiritualize it, right? What does that mean, to spiritualize something? It means to take our everyday, seemingly mundane life, the part that's seemingly separate from God, and spiritualize it means bring spirit into it. Bring him in. Bring her in. Give God a chance. It's like Swamiji said, it puzzles me sometimes when people say they feel God is a stranger to them. It's because they have been a stranger to him. All we need to do is constantly just refer ourselves back to that pole star. Nayaswami Devi in a satsang some months ago, she was quoting Yogananda. This is very inspiring. It inspired me very much. She said, she was quoting Master, I'm paraphrasing. You're told not to be attached. Well, I tell you to be attached, but be attached to that formless presence of God in people. Right? There's a part of us that's always, oh, well, we don't want to get attached. Of course we don't want to get attached to material things. But we can be attached to that Spirit of God. And that Spirit of God that's reflected in others. Last night when you saw the choir, wow. What a choir of angels. I know that's what Swami would have said. They were all angels. They were all so beautiful. And what did Swami say? If you see one or two people, you could say it's what they're doing that makes them special. But when you see a whole community of people, or excuse me, I said that wrong. When you see one or two people, you could say they're special. But when you see a whole community of people doing it, it's what they're doing that makes them special. And what we do here at Ananda is we make the attempt to practice the presence of God, to share Him behind, right? Just like Frank Laubach would say, another incredible book about practicing the presence of God. When I move my hand, I feel Christ's hands behind it. Just behind the breeze, I feel His caress. Just behind the sun, I feel His warmth. In fact, one of our friends and community members here, I believe her parents were missionaries and she was with Frank Laubach once. She can correct me if I have this story wrong. But they asked Frank Laubach, who was a great Christian missionary and a great man of God, to say a prayer. And she said it was like a radio that he just turned up, and that everyone then present heard this constant prayer that he had going on, this constant conversation in the background of his mind that he had going on, and then he just turned that dial back down. You know, we get father, mother, friend, beloved. We can get overly rigid and formal in our prayers. The Master gave us those 4 aspects of God: Father, Mother, Friend, Beloved, because they're the way that we relate to each other. It was actually, I think after that satsang, I had this experience with Devi and Nayaswami Devi and Nayaswami Jyotish. I'm attached to the God in you. O Mother Divine, Father in Blue, I am attached to the God in you. Overcome by your becoming, I becoming to you. O Mother Divine, Father in Blue, I am attached to the formless God. You, just you. We can spiritualize anything if we give the space for Spirit to come. So what prevents us then from practicing the presence of God? Swami says something really powerful. It's an editorial comment in the Rubaiyat. Quatrain 31. Absent-mindedness and fillers, Paramhansa Yogananda rated these 2 as the most insidious influences in the aspirant's life. Taken one instance at a time, they may seem inconsequential. Taken all together, however, they are formidable. A slowly dripping faucet may, during the course of a single day, waste many gallons of water. Absent-mindedness and fillers. Because we just have this habit, there's the delusive habit that we've got an idle moment. We check our phone. Don't forget the cell phone Yama Sutra. They found this ancient scripture. And you know what it says? You, Sundara, use your cell phone. It does not use you. But we have this habit of just filling, right? I like to think rather than YouTube, go to the tube in you. And hey, we spiritualize YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. We're using YouTube to tube you. So, the point is, another song of Swamiji's, fill your chalice at his fountain. Know that you live not alone. And the way we do that is to love God. We have to get to that point where, just like Ramakrishna, he would hear the name of God and he would go into ecstasy. He couldn't get past Father. He couldn't get past that part of the prayer. We have to get to that part where it's our whole being is vibrating with that. So how do we practice the presence of God? In all these ways. But there's one way that I'd like to emphasize as well, and that is having this conversation in the second person, like Swami said. You know, Master has that chant, I think it's in the Valley of Sorrows. You, just you. And I'll never forget, I had this experience in Los Angeles, and it was all in the same day. And you see a lot of different things in LA. And one time I came out of, I think, like Home Depot or somewhere, and there was a homeless man, and he was going, you, like kind of crazily. And then a little later that afternoon, I was driving and I saw this angry man, you, screaming at somebody else. And then I came home that evening and I happened to play that chant in the Valley of Sorrow. And I heard Swami, you, just you. So sweet, with so much love. So it's the bhav, so to speak, the way that we approach God. And if we can come to Him just very simply, just like Brother Lawrence, like a child. Well, this is how I am, Lord. Hey, I didn't ask to be created. This is one of my favorite prayers of Master. You created me, you must redeem me. That's like go all in. You see I'm not going to go there. I am going to go here. I'm going to go to love. That's the other, of course, ingredient. When we feel maligned and people hurt or hate us, and we have such divisiveness and polarization, and all this, the excreta of the world. Master quoted one of his students, a man named Edwin Markham, who was a poet laureate. In this little poem, he drew a circle that shut me out, heretic rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in. That's a little excerpt from one of that man's poems, and he was one of Master's early students. But that is, remember, we can't do it ourselves. When we see that divine presence, we feel it within, and then we acknowledge it and honor it and revere it in others. That is a divine equation of success. You know, Einstein gave E equals mc squared. I'm no physicist, but that's that equation. We have one. It's practicing the presence of God equals E plus mc squared. Meaning your enthusiasm, your love for God, plus your calmness, and you're inviting that presence into your daily life. That leads to the presence of God. There's a story from long ago when times were really difficult. And there was this old abbot of this monastery, and times were even more difficult for him. His fellow monks, their spiritual life was weak. They were lacking faith. They were fearful. And they were falling away from their spiritual life. And he only had a few old brothers and one or two young ones with him in his monastery. And he had a friend, another old wise rabbi. And so in despair, he went and he visited his friend, the old rabbi. And he explained his plight. And his rabbi friend listened very calmly and kindly. And then he responded to him and said, "Brother, you must hear me and understand one thing. The Messiah is one of you." And the abbot was struck by it. He said, "What? What are you? How can that be?" "I'm telling you, brother, we know it. The Messiah is one of you." And part of him couldn't believe it, but another part of him hoped it was true. And he left with a breath of hope. And when he got back to the monastery, he heard one of his brothers praying. And he looked at him with a little bit of a different sense of respect and even reverence that he could be the Messiah. And they noticed, his other brothers noticed a change in him. And then finally he confided in one. And then this word spread throughout the little monastery. The Messiah is one of us. And all of them began treating one another with greater love and respect. And so it was that they inspired their community. And then new younger monks started to come. And when they would take their vows, they would explain to them the secret of their spiritual strength was this conviction that the Messiah is one of us. And so it goes for all of us, that if we can bring that sense of God's presence within and bow to him without and sing that song that none have sung, we have the Holy Trinity that will take us to Christ's birth. God bless you.
Once there lived a tiny nightingale in the ancient land of Israel. Not a note he ever sang until that night when Christ was born. That night, no song he did sing, so wise men tell, till that night when Christ was born. Tried to chirp that holy name, suddenly his voice in music came, and with angel choirs he did proclaim that night when Christ was born. That night, no song he did sing, so wise men tell, till that night when Christ was born. That night, no song he did sing, so when Christ was born. Then let us, if we would sweetly sing, join the angels praising Christ the King, that they to our hearts once more may bring that night when Christ was born. That night, no song we can sing, so wise men tell, till that night when Christ is born. That night, no song we can sing, so wise men tell, till that night when Christ is born. Where are you going, my little one? In hope these empty streets I wend. I've seen a star rise in the east, and I'm looking for a friend to from a lonely valley we ascend. A wondrous vision sent us here. We're looking for a friend to rule, You learned man, where are you going? Our soul's long journey we would end. Therefore we've come to Bethlehem. We're looking for a friend to people, let me come with you. Perhaps he's just around this bend. But whether near or far, I too have been looking for a friend to
Thank you to all of our donors for making it possible to share these videos and keep this channel ad-free. If you feel inspired to donate, visit ananda.org/give.